Okay, and we are recording. And I'll get this intro down, put at some point here. I am Brian Kynes, and I am the creator of the Tales of Ulran world setting. We use Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and we create it together. As we're playing, we're writing the book. Over here to my side, I have Sean. Sean will be playing the role of Sha-dae, which is the, we'll call her the Monk of Many Faces. And that'll be your thing, and we'll write that down, the Monk of Many Faces. On the other side of me, we have Alex Porter. Alex had a horrible migraine the last time and was not able to be here, but that's okay, because we almost killed her character. So that'll teach her to not show up anymore. Damn, it was rough. Who knew they exploded? Ignatious knew. That's who knew. So, you know, other than that, he tried to warn us, but he's old and it's a little slow. But anyway, she'll be playing the role of Oma, the spirit-walking, summoning powerhouse of a soft-spoken cleric character. We adore her. She's awesome in this. Below me are two different people. One has a job and is like working and is still listening in to what we're doing, and that is Jeremy Keaton. Jeremy always plays the role of Brahmus for us, and I'm sure he'll be stepping in and throwing in commentary, you know, as long as he's not working. And then beside him, Ron, and Ron, one of my favorites, always playing Ignatious Thistlebaum, the avian cleric that can banish things if he can just get it off on time. So, having said all of that, we are in the aftermath of what I thought was one of my favorite episodes. Once again, I really enjoyed it. We did battle with this frostworm. It bobbed and weaved. Contingency boogers, whack-a-mole, and everything. We put it to it, and finally we're able to take it down and stop it from attacking this Dwarven convoy of beast handlers and people that had came to the city to bring these strange creatures to the ring so people could fight them, practically. Because in the D&D world, you know, you do shit like that. You know, some people fight roosters illegally. Some people fight behemoths and shit. It's all part of it. So the city was fine with it. So, you know, I am too. Ignatius got rocked. Ignatius got rocked really badly and fell. And we did an awesome little scene there where he realized it wasn't his time to go. And Brahmus, remembering his whole kit, inside of Brahmus, of course, is the soul of Merc Steelcrest, paladin that died all those many, many hundreds of years ago at the foot of the Mountain of Tears. Remembered that he had lay on hands as an ability and came over and was able to repay the favor that Ignatius had gave to him so many years ago by extending his life in turn. At that moment, Ron had came to, and he had saw the shadow of a large airship come overhead, almost like the old Vietnam movies where the guys are laying there and you hear the machine gun fire and the choppers coming over. Ron's having one of those moments. This large, gallant voice comes off the top of the ship, and I'm going to go ahead and say this now. I'm no voice actor, people. Okay? But I try to do the best I can. And I was arrogant in making this character, but it needed to be this way. This character looks like Patrick Stewart and seems to be the general of one of these elite airships of the city of New Gemdar. Seems to be a mighty vessel that we've all at some point encountered or saw docked up in a Skywatch, but we've never really delved into who this guy is and what he does. But he's played by Patrick Stewart. He looks like an armored up vagabond, black and gold, armored with a large banner. It looks like the hawk from the city over his shoulder, with a large mace and shield. And he looks like Patrick Stewart, and he says with this grandiose voice, you know, he's asking, you know, who's down there? And all these things. Sean's character decides to give a signal by summoning Isadora, his raven, from his rapier. and sends it up squawking as a sign, almost like a blackbird emergency flare, just popping off the flare gun into the sky. And he says to descend below. He points, and the ship is slowly coming in to either retrieve us or to see if we're okay. But that's where we left off. So I'd like to give everybody a chance, because I know sometimes the theatrics just pass you right by and there's a chance maybe you wanted to say something. Beginning this episode, is there anything anyone would like to do before I go into how this continues? Sean, I'll start with you. Is there anything you're doing?
Sha-dae will immediately go up to Oma and just like look over her and just repeatedly, just like softly, just say I'm sorry over and over again.
Okay, Alex, your response to this. You were rocked pretty good. Your clothes are frozen solid. Some of them have broke away, some of the leather straps. Your little figurine of the owl, however, is intact and okay. Right. And you have faced this. You've never faced bitter cold like this before. But you have now. And you survived it.
Sorry to cut you off. I will say that while I am saying I'm sorry, my outer persona is that of Sha-dae, but my eyes are the whites with the golden irises.
Okay. So roll a perception check for me, Alex. Okay. You know this character is a changeling, can change appearances and things like that. And you have seen this enough now. With that role, and if you want to make this a note in your character, you can, or you can just remember it. You are starting to recognize things that Sha-dae does that gives you a glimpse into what the true image of her would be. Before you saw a shot of her going pale-faced and having white skin and long white silver-colored hair. Then you saw these golden-colored eyes emerge, and you can tell in moments where Sha-dae is more concerned about what's going on around her and has emotional highs. It's almost like putting together a puzzle where you have Sha-dae's face there, the one you know, and then these little pieces are starting to fit into your mind of what a true changeling is. The title of them is called Changelings, right? That is their actual thing. Okay.
Yeah.
You're starting to put the puzzle together. Okay, Alex? So just for theatrical purposes or role-playing purposes, we're starting to put together the whole picture of what she truly looks like. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Is there any reaction you would have towards her saying that to you?
I would probably be standing there shivering, going, "It's okay."
Nice. In always making a light humor of her situation, she shivers and tells you that, Sean. Which might help break the tension that you're going through at the current moment.
Yeah. Sha-dae calms down a little bit, and then her eyes slowly turn back to Sha-dae's coloring.
Okay. Ignatious, I remember you very selfishly looking up to Brahmus and things like that, and then saying, "Is everybody okay?"
Mm-hmm.
Worrying more about the flock and less about yourself. We also saw Dwarven war bears coming from the distance, 3 of them. Okay. Was that correct? Was it 3 or 2? I think DM's just going to have to say there's 3 of them. You know what? Let's just say, for the sake of argument, Brian says there's 3 of them. There are. Okay? You know what? No, let's make it one. There's a reason. Let's make it one warbearer seems to be coming from the city, followed by what seem to be other dwarven warriors of some kind coming from the city of New Gemdar across the plains that lead outward into this northwestern mountain range that we have just started into about a mile from the city. Okay, I'd say these warbears and things are about a half a mile out. Okay, the ship lands. To describe this ship, here's the best way I can describe it. Okay, it is elegant in its make, but there is a dark Gothic overtone in the stylings and sharpness of it. The wood on it is stained wood that is stained a dark color, but you can still see the wood grain in it. It has an elaborate bronze, like golden colored metal hawk's head that adorns the front of it, with its wings spreading along the sides of this ship, made of the same metal material. Okay, where the feathers seem to split, or where cannons stick out on several different ports on both sides of the ship. The sails are that black, like silk material that has the emblem of the hawk, the same one that King Omenon uses and the guards use, outlined in gold. The crew seems to be made of his own personal guards, people that we've seen around before. Only several of them have the helmets with the actual wings on the side, because we have recognized those to be very high-ranking people. When this particular character stands on the front of the ship, Sha-dae, I'd like for you to do a history check for me, please, to see if you would happen to know the name of this captain.
That's intelligence, right?
I don't know. Is history intelligence or wisdom, Ron?
Yeah, I think that's going to be. That's going to be
History,
one moment,
yeah,
please.
definitely intelligence.
Intelligence.
Okay. What do you get, bud?
Well, I rolled a 9, but let me add my modifier to it.
You got rogue.
Right.
They're squirrely fuckers.
Mm-hmm. It's history, correct?
Yep, intelligence.
Of which I have proficiency. Haha, so it's +7. So that gets me to a 15 total.
Okay.
Or 16 total, sorry.
16. Okay, that'll help you out. This guy's name is Geric Teir-Dannon. To spell that is G-E-R-I-C, and his middle name is Teir, T-I-E-R dash D-A-N-N-O-N. Okay, and he is, from what you could tell from talk and things of this nature, he rarely comes off the ship. He doesn't forego in anything really at the crow's nest and things of that nature, but he is an adventurer. Okay, and he is someone that is close to the king, and this is the main ship of their fleet up here, the small fleet that they're starting, that we all know the Dreadnought and the Lylung would love to be a part of at some point if they could be, and they can prove themselves. Okay, so in that moment, when you recognize him and this being his ship, Sean, you almost have to get a little bit envious and lustful for his approval, simply because, you know, the Dreadnought is here to make a name for itself, although you're not sure if that's what you want. You know, side note, he is someone that you would definitely want to impress. And if taking down the Frostworm doesn't do that, what the fuck would? Okay? So as this happens and the ship comes down to land, it stops about 10 foot off the actual surface of the snow, and it's blown most of the free snow away now, a good 20 yards away from the group. And rope ladders come over the sides that have guards run down them extremely quickly and then stake these rope ladders to the ground almost as if they are anchors. And an actual anchor comes off the front and back of the ship, holding it in place as the force comes out from underneath of it and hovers. Oma, you'd be interested in this because you're seeing those elements put into a lodestar at work. You're seeing the fruits of the labor that you and Medelia had performed on the ship in actuality happening out here. You rarely see the Lylung land and get up in a way like this. Usually you're just sailing. Okay. Geric bounds down, jumping off the last 3 or 4 rungs of the actual ship. He's only in half armor, with no helmet on at this point. And Geric's hair is all he's not bald like Patrick Stewart. He's got a really bad widow's peak, and it's all silver and white hair. It's pulled back into a high ponytail, almost high enough where it almost looks Japanese to a degree. It's not low like a normal person's would be. It's a little higher on the back of his head. And it hangs down in a braid that is made, it's about 3 foot long. Okay? As he jumps down off the ship and he looks very sternly about the whole situation, he takes his snout and takes like a deep breath through his nose, and you can see that muscled neck of his as he kind of straightens up and looks around. He points. You can hear a deep voice booming past the wind and stuff. You there. This one. Secure that one over there. And he's shouting out commands to different ones of this nature. Once he gets some commands shouted out, he begins walking over that direction. At that point, Ron, someone comes into view. Sylowen. You remember one of the last sounds that you heard as you fell to the earth was her scream. And as a bard, her scream goes a long, long way, my friend. Okay? And that scream, roll me a perception check, Ron. You're muted,
22.
sir. 22?
Yes.
That scream may have been trying to give you inspiration on a death saving throw. Now that you've had a chance to think about it. Okay? As she comes over, the helmet drops. The lance falls to the side. And she's on her knees in this vagabond armor she's made up out of wyvern scales and armor and things of that nature. And tears in her eyes. The long blonde hair a mess down her face as she tries to pull it back and pushes it out of her eyes, trying to tilt her head so the wind blows it so it's not getting all on you. And she grabs on to the sides of your face and she's wiping off your head. You can see blood on her hand. Okay, but it is warm to the touch. Okay. You are healed for 11 hit points.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, 1 second.
You're okay. Ignatious is getting a phone call, everyone. It's all good.
Ignatious is being summoned.
Yeah. It needs to be a spell. I wish I could make a spell that we could cast that would sound like a phone ringing, and we could just always say that shit. All of a sudden, we'll make it like a magic missile. Like all of a sudden, a magic missile just blasts you guys from the left. Every time you hear a phone ring or something.
All right, sorry about that.
Flavor sending.
Right on, Jeremy. Oh, and what's great, Jeremy, are you in your work truck?
Yeah, buddy.
Need to put on backup signals for when Brahmus walks backwards. Have like those beeping sounds come out of your beep. All day with that shit. And this episode's name is now Construction Zone. Okay. So, having said that, Ron, you see her on her knees on your side, healing you and holding your face, very warm to the touch. Do you have anything to say to her?
I would ask her if she's all right.
She looks at you and she chokes back words, But she takes a deep breath and swallows hard and just kind of nods her head. Uh-huh. She answers you softly. She says to you in a very slight, elegant avian accent, she would say to you, I came seeking adventure, but not like this. And she looks at you really, really concerned. And she holds her breath for a minute, and then she stops and has a little bit of a smile. And she's like, I'm glad that you're okay.
I would kind of give her a wincing smile because even with the little bit of healing I've gotten, I'm still pretty banged up. So
as you do that, she sees your chest rise up and fall and goes down. She says to you, she looks at the others and looks down to you. She goes, can you stand? I'll help you.
all right, I accept her help and I
Roll a Constitution saving throw or check. 10 to stand.
okay, I'm good. I got 12.
Okay. You're able to get up, but it's not by much. That's why I like the dice. In this version of the game, they really can tell you what's going on around you. With her age, you're able to get up, and about that time, you see this gallant figure that has this loud, booming voice walking its way across to you. And he looks down to you, and he looks at you left and right and sees that your robe is kind of in tatters, and that one of your wings is showing where the other one is halfway covered. See, some of your feathers are broken on the one and twisted and contorted, almost like the broken fingers on a person's hand. And he looks at you and he goes, I'm certain we can take care of that if need be. We have people to mend wings. It seems as if you've survived, although I can't hardly see how that happened. Who are you all? Brahmus, do you have anything you want to say at that, Brahmus?
Brahmus would look at him and he'd nod for a moment, still trying to just shake off that bitter cold from that blast he took. Like we could imagine Merc is inside trying to just bust off shards of ice off of everything.
Yeah.
But he would manage to eventually get out the words, telling him his name and, what has just transpired.
Okay. He looks at you and he goes, you carry us a construct with a mortal voice and soul. I don't know how it is that you beat the Intrepid here. He looks back at his ship. And he says, but I cannot begin to thank you for what you've done. He looks up in the distance and he looks kind of poetically mournful for just a minute as he sees a fire about 50, 75 yards off in the distance of a wagon nearby that's had something explode and been caught ablaze on it. He looks over to the left and sees some Dwarven people that are scattered about with them dark crimson pools that are just now starting to get covered with the snowfall. He looks, but for every heroic deed, there's much that needs to be cleaned up afterwards in its wake. He snaps his head sideways, gives a nod, and several of the guards that were standing at his side go out to aid these people. Ignatious, you would see that two of them are dressed up as if they are clerics of New Gemdar. Okay. Whereas normally the ones that have the pointed helmets that are silvered with the feathers, these particular ones have hoods that have the wings that spread down the sides and adorn the far-laying hoods that they wear. Okay. They seem to make their way and they both nod to you. One has a longer dark beard that hangs out from below his cloak hood and gives you a nod of acceptance and approval as he walks past you to aid some of these dwarves that have been lost in this shit, okay? He looks about, and he looks over at you, Sha-dae, and takes a step, and he goes, I've seen you before, up above the city. The Dreadnought, is it?
Yes, sir. She respectfully, bows and, my name is Sha-dae, and I'm the Lieutenant Commander on the Dreadnought.
Roll a charisma check to see how well your etiquette is and how well you pull this off.
Would be performance or just straight up charisma?
You can do performance, sure.
Okay. That will get me a 15.
Okay. He looks at you and he goes, it's nice to see that some people that find our city have some form of etiquette left in their repertoire.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Looks at that bird flying around your shoulder. It hasn't quite come back to your rapier yet and just gives you a long knowing look with those eyebrows. Okay. Turns his gaze over to Oma. Oma, one of those clerics seems to pass by you and stops before they walk on further to go to the dwarves. Okay. The cleric that stops and looks at you for a long minute is a long-faced, tall human woman with very deep set emotional eyes that have eyelids that are very low over top of them. And she says to you in this low, deep female voice, she goes, are you able to make it out of this place, young one? You seem as if you've been chilled to the bone. The fact that you survive is surprising. This woman looks like Cher. With long gray hair that hangs and curls out from underneath of the hood. As she pulls it back briefly, has a tiara over her head and is looking at you with those big eyes that have eyelids that hang low. What are you saying?
I'll be fine eventually.
Time heals all wounds, but sometimes we simply don't have the time. And she looks at you and whispers a word out. You, after she casts a spell on top of you, Oma, are healed for 31 points of healing. This is a powerful cleric spell that did this, okay? She goes, I can't do much for your wardrobe, dearie, but that'll at least get you back to the city in one piece. Stay warm. And she walks on past you to help others. What are you doing, Sean?
I was gonna say, and then she smacks you and says, "Snap out of it."
Yeah. You saw all those references to the word time.
Yeah.
Because if Cher could just turn back time,
Right.
if she could find the way and take back that hold that hurts you, she would. She'd do it all for you. Yeah. I can't unsee that video with her with that damn leather on that ship and her son playing guitar. And I'm just like, wrong. Just wrong. But it's all good, man. It's Cher. You gotta respect it. So anyway, nice one, Sean.
Cher fan here.
Oh God. She needs to stop. Needs just to retire, be a grandma, be happy. That's Brian's opinion. But there's people like, Cher's a goddess. You shut up. It's all good. It's all good. So, moving forward, you've been healed by this tall, emotional woman. She healed you back quite a bit. She's a cleric of the Order of the Hawks from New Gemdar. She's moving on down to take care of things. Geric Teir-Dannon invites you all onto his ship. You would be the first one, Ignatious, that he would want to bring onto the ship As you see Ira-Den in the distance, the tiefling, the one that flew Roseialia's eye, coming down the way, looking at you guys. It would seem that the cold blast and the winds that came off of it have ripped the sails up on Roseialia's eye, and it would be unable to make the trip back right at this moment. He's holding the lodestar underneath of him as it lets out this iridescent light blue and pale light glow from underneath of his cloak. As he comes up and he looks around at the bunch of you, he stands beside you, Ignatious, and beside Geric Teir-Dannon, and says, Roseialia's eye yet again is damaged in the after